Live from a studio apartment. This is it. This is misinformation. Yeah, you see my guitar in the background. What are our thoughts? Do we think I can play guitar? Does anyone have any guesses? Are we thinking I'm good at the guitar? Or are we thinking I'm bad at the guitar? What are we thinking here? Let me pull up the chat. What we got? I think the technical difficulties are over, by the way. I think I've finally solved how to stream in like 8 different channels at the same time. This is pretty sick. You guys want to hear a little guitar? Shall I play? Actually, it's probably not in tune. I'll check it real quick, though. Okay. It's gonna be kind of funky because it's not really okay. Let's get here. That's pretty good. Just watch everyone leave. Very out of tune. I can hear it as I'm playing it. But this is phase 3 of the master plan. Guitar. Phases 1 and 2 are political show, political satirist, and stand-up comedy. Just one thing at a time. Anyways, we're going to get into some news. Let me pull some stuff up. Okay. Here, let me pull this up first. For starters, if this will work, let's see. Let's get on the Twitter. Oh, this is a cool place to start. Sometimes you just get blessed with a cool tweet that pops up right when you go to start the show. So this was Eric Doherty on Twitter. Is saying, as President Trump confirms the Iran war may be winding down soon, we'll get into that in a second, U.S. CENTCOM drops badass footage of even more Iranian regime targets being turned to dust. Let's just watch it. Oh, man. Hold up. We got to already go back, because that looked like Grand Theft Auto when the roof of that truck popped off. Oh my gosh. This is actually way more intense than I thought it was going to be. I don't even know if I'm allowed to show this online. That was a rough one, honestly. Could like see the guys. I'm gonna get banned for this. Could see him standing there though. So that's just kind of a video update on how things are going so far with the war in Iran. So big news tonight that we're gonna talk about. Are we gonna end up putting boots on the ground in Iran? This is kind of, there's rumors. There are some rumors going around, all right? I'm kind of close to them. I'm in San Diego. That's one of the largest naval bases in the U.S. So it's big Navy town. I'm not personally hearing the rumors. I'm straight. But there's somebody saw, let me find it. Somebody's saying on Twitter more Marines are leaving San Diego today bound for the Middle East. Well, this is Mario Nawfal. He's a pretty prominent voice on X. So he says the U.S. is sending thousands more Marines to the Middle East. The USS Boxer and 2 other amphibious assault ships carrying 2,500 Marines just left San Diego. You do see these ships on the like near the harbor all the time too. It's pretty crazy being out here. The USS Tripoli, we talked about that a couple nights ago, was seen speeding towards the Middle East. That carries about 2,500 Marines. And the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit have been redirected from Taiwan exercises. Combined, the two new Marine Expeditionary Units add around 5,000 Marines to a region where the U.S. already has 50,000 troops. What do you guys think? You think we're actually putting boots on the ground there? We'll go with some more stuff here. This was somebody else. This, I think, is more speculation. I don't know how accurate this is. U.S. Homeland Security News, that can't be an official account. Defense Civil 25. Anyways, they say, alert. The U.S. Army is preparing to deploy the 82nd Airborne Division into the Middle East region. Per CBS, maybe? So it might be true. It says there are already 8,000 Marines on their way to Iran. Okay? So we have those news reports, right? Troops on the move. Now, meanwhile, we have Trump saying that we're getting close to finishing the war. Let's pull that up. So this was a tweet, or a truth as they're known, from Trump tonight. He says, we're getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great military efforts in the Middle East with respect to the terrorist regime of Iran. Number one, completely degrading Iranian missile capability, launchers, and everything else pertaining to them. Number two, destroying Iran's defense industrial base. Three, eliminating their Navy and Air Force. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty broad. But it looks like we've done it. Including anti-aircraft weaponry. And four, never allowing Iran to get even close to nuclear capability and always being in a position where the USA can quickly and powerfully react to such a situation should it take place. So that's interesting. And then five, he says, protecting at the highest level our Middle Eastern allies, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, that's the American pronunciation, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Kuwait, and others. Qatar is what it's called. The Hormuz Strait will have to be guarded and policed as necessary by other nations who use it. The United States does not. That's interesting. That's basically a policy thing he's just started going with, and people seem to be getting on board with it. Basically saying, hey, this is for other countries that use it more than the U.S. does. Let them guard it and police it, and we're not really going to have anything to deal with it. And countries have signed on now to do that, right? Because it's in their economic interests to do so. If asked, we will help. If asked, we will help these countries in their Hormuz efforts, but it shouldn't be necessary once Iran's threat is eradicated. Importantly, it will be an easy military operation for them. So he's still talking crap to these countries that refused to jump in when he asked for help. But in any case, so I guess the first line is important. He says, we're getting very close to meeting our objectives as we consider winding down our great military efforts in the Middle East. Trump saying he thinks we won. He basically says we're out. I'm looking through some other stuff to pull up here. I think that it would be difficult for me to imagine that Trump has any kind of a plan to put boots on the ground. From what we've seen from Trump, he seems to like winning, and winning very quickly and decisively and efficiently. I think that he understands that putting boots on the ground would be a huge dramatic shift in public perception of what we're doing in the Middle East, or I'd like to think he does. And that would certainly raise the stakes and create a lot more controversy as far as, was this the right or the wrong decision? That said, we are building up troop presence a little bit there, at least, right? And it probably just makes sense at this point in the war, or the strikes, or whatever you want to call them. You know, it doesn't make sense to not have any Marines in the area, because at this point, you don't know what you might need to use them for, right? So if I had to guess, this is a buildup of limited troops in the area in the event that we need to use them, or perhaps for very specific objectives. let's say there is crazy problems in the Strait of Hormuz. He may need to send in troops on a limited basis to do something there, or something with Karg Island. I'm probably not the best expert to ask on this, but just judging by Trump, I mean, I don't think that he would build this up and do this type of an action without making it clear to the American public. And there's really no reason to carry on any further deception, I think, with regards to Iran. I don't think it's going to be a big surprise that we're putting boots on the ground. I think Trump will do everything in his power to avoid that. But, again, it's probably a good idea to have them there just as a contingency. Here's Trump held a presser today. He had a lot of great quotes from it. Kind of gives you an update on Iran or his thoughts on Iran as well. So we'll play a couple of clips. Here was him saying, we've killed so many of their leaders that we have, we're trying to talk to them and we have nobody to talk to.
Their leaders are all gone. The next set of leaders are all gone. And the next set of leaders are mostly gone. And now nobody wants to be a leader over there anymore. We're having a hard time. We want to talk to them, and there's nobody to talk to. We have nobody to talk to. And you know what? We like it that way. And we have many other distinguished members of the United States military, but I want to tell you, Hegseth is doing a great job, and Raising Cane is doing a great job, as good as...
There's, he made a comment, they had a Navy 2 weeks ago, now they have none. Pull this up.
I want to begin by just saying we're doing extremely well in Iran. The difference between them and us is they had a Navy 2 weeks ago, they have no Navy anymore. It's all at the bottom of the sea. 58 ships knocked down in 2 days. And we have the greatest Navy anywhere in the world. It's not even close. So we are doing really well. We're not going to let them have nuclear weapons. Because if they had them, they'd use them, and we're not going to let that happen.
That was the full quote. He said that's the difference between them and us is they had a Navy 2 weeks ago. They have no Navy anymore. Which is, I like the way of just talking tough and totally, like, when Trump wants to be positive, he's very, very outwardly positive about stuff, right? But when he wants to just verbally and mentally destroy an enemy, he's not shy about doing it, right? And the whole administration for him seems to be following suit, with Hegseth making similar comments about, I think what Hegseth said the other day was we decided to split the ocean with Iran. We gave them the bottom half. So making pretty bold statements like that. This was another comment Trump made. I don't know if it was at this presser or another one. But he was saying that Iran's essentially trying to contact them to reach out for a ceasefire. And he says here, this isn't the time to reach out for a ceasefire. That would have been earlier when you had the opportunity. You don't ask for a ceasefire once one side's totally obliterating the other side. Why would we do that? Here he is.
Calling for a ceasefire in the Middle East and to reopen dialogue. What do you say to the
Well, look, we can have dialogue, but I don't want to do a ceasefire. You know, you don't do a ceasefire when you're literally obliterating the other side. They don't have a Navy. They don't have an Air Force. They don't have any equipment they don't have any spotters. They don't have anti-aircraft. They don't have radar. And their leaders have all been killed at every level. We're not looking to do that.
Calling for a ceasefire.
If there is one thing that you can count on with Trump is he knows where he's at in a negotiation, right? Which I think, just to be honest, I think a lot of previous leaders, Obama, Biden in particular, they just don't know how negotiations work, literally. They don't know how to get things from negotiations. They don't understand how leverage works. This is basic stuff that Trump's pointing out. Sounds kind of funny when he says it on camera, but yeah. Basically, you know, it's the same thing as if you're in a negotiation financially with someone over something and they have absolutely zero leverage and you have all of the leverage for whatever reason. It's clear they want to make a deal and you have no reason to make a deal because you're strongly winning the negotiation. Why would you stop then and just call it a draw, right? It makes absolutely no sense. And he's good at applying those negotiation frameworks to both deal making, market-wise, but also on the geopolitical stage. Here, you can see in the middle of a war, he's applying that same framework to, you know, when are we going to actually allow this war to be over, right? So I thought that was interesting. This was a funny quote from him. I want to snip. He was asked by a reporter. I guess they keep asking him if he has any plans on this or that. This might have been about the boots on the ground. And he has a good quote. He says, "I may have a plan or I may not," which was kind of funny.
Well, you know, I may have a plan or I may not, but how would I ever say that to a reporter? If I said that to a reporter, Marco would say, "Please, sir, let's bring you over to the helicopter immediately." Right? No, I can't tell you that.
I want to snip that into like a meme clip. I don't know what I'm going to pair it with, but just something about I may have a plan and I may not. And then this was big also. So one of the things that he's been doing has been using this war to expose the fact, which is something that he's been saying for years now, since he was really running for president, which is that NATO is essentially useless to us. We've spent all these years paying for their security and backing them up, or promising to back them up when they need security. And then the second that we actually call on those NATO countries to help us with what Trump calls something simple, securing the Strait of Hormuz, none of them want to get involved. So he calls them out directly here. He calls them cowards, which I thought was pretty raw. That's a pretty blunt way to describe it. Here he says in the truth, "Without the USA, NATO is a paper tiger. They didn't want to join the fight to stop a nuclear-powered Iran. Now that fight is militarily won with very little danger for them. They complain about the high oil prices they're forced to pay, but don't want to help open the Strait of Hormuz, a simple military maneuver that is the single reason for the high oil prices. So easy for them to do with so little risk. Cowards. And we will remember." President. Yeah, that's a pretty big statement. I mean, I feel like that is going to be one that's in the history books about this kind of moment in time. And I think it's true. They don't want to get involved, and they don't want to risk anything. That's why you haven't seen them join. A lot of these other countries just have TDS. The leaders try to oppose Trump in every little thing that he does whenever they can, So he calls it out right to their face there. It's cowardice. No. Nobody. Like, if it seems like I'm schizophrenic, it's because my Meta glasses just started trying to make a phone call. This is the crap I have to deal. I ain't Tim Pool. I just got Meta glasses. They were like, "Just to confirm, you want me to call Dana?" I'm like, I don't even know who Dana is. Please don't. Whatever you do, don't call Dana. Hey, Meta, find out who Dana is. Probably some Hinge girl from 8 years ago. Cue the homeless dog barking in the parking lot outside my window. Oh, well. So we'll go on to a quick update on Iran. So this was I was going to call them Hamas, but I'm close enough. This was the Iranian, what's left of the leadership now, military spokesman, they call him, warning that Israel and American officials, let me pull it back up, and military personnel, warns Israel and American officials that they'll not be safe in resorts and tourist centers worldwide following the elimination of Iranian officials in strikes. And then Will Chamberlain points out, "Yes, we know you're a terror state. This is why Operation Epic Fury happened." I really like Will Chamberlain, by the way. You should check him out on X if you haven't already. But yeah, I mean, what good are these threats in the first place now that they're down to like, 2 leaders left? Man, I've never even seen this guy before. But yeah, threatening to basically commit attacks on resorts. I think they're avoiding saying civilians, so they do mention military personnel that happen to be in resorts. I imagine they're not going to care if they kill civilians during those attacks. This was kind of a funny meme. Speaking of dead leaders, this was Neo Berg. I think she's an Iranian, actually, activist on Twitter. Life comes at you fast. That's a picture of the Iranian regime, 2025. Wow. To today. Not going to be a family reunion, I'm thinking. Funny, though. Crazy, actually, to look at it, the difference. Another story out of Iran. They're investigating now. I guess there was an F-35, which is a fighter jet that got hit in combat. And guess the big news about it is that everyone is shocked that one of our jets was actually hit during combat by an Iranian. I don't know what it was, if it's bullets or some type of missile or something, but they actually hit us with something. Which I feel like that is the big meta story, is that we're doing an investigation into why one plane was shot. And it didn't even crash. It basically, the pilot, I don't believe it crashed. I think the pilot landed and got out of the plane safely and everything. But I thought this was initially kind of funny. I guess the real story is basically these are stealth planes, which I wasn't aware of. I thought the stealth planes were always the, B-2 bomber looking things with the black, and they look like triangles. Apparently the F-35 is also a stealth jet and can't be picked up on radar, right? So this was what the investigation's about, is, okay, how did this fighter jet get picked up? There's a good explanation from, I think it's Mario Nawful here on X. He says the F-35 is invisible to radar. It was never invisible to heat. So he suggests Iran likely used infrared tracking systems that detect engine exhaust instead of radar signatures. Because these systems emit no energy, the F-35's warning systems never alerted the pilot he was being targeted. The suspected weapon, he says, Iran's 358 missile, a hybrid between a loitering drone and a surface-to-air missile that hunts using optical and infrared sensors, bypassing stealth entirely. How did all this happen? How do we live in this apocalyptic technology world? I can't even believe what I just read. A hybrid between a loitering drone? What's even a loitering drone? And a surface-to-air missile that hunts using optical and infrared sensors? How are these robots not going to kill us someday? I haven't watched this video. We could watch a little bit of it if you guys want.
Massive sensors scan the skies for any heat anomalies. Because infrared search and track systems emit no energy themselves, the F-35's radar warning receivers would not alert the pilot that they were being painted by a target lock in the same way a radar lock would. But how did the missile lock, and how did the F-35 use evasive maneuvers? Once an infrared-guided missile is launched, the dynamic of the engagement changes to a race of physics and countermeasures. When the missile's IR seeker head locks onto the massive thermal output of the F-35's engine exhaust. But the detection, the F-35 is equipped with a distributed aperture system, 6 infrared cameras positioned around the aircraft that provide a 360-degree spherical view. The distributed aperture system...
I don't know if I can watch the rest of this video. Just my glasses started playing music. Cool. Oh my gosh, what was I gonna... I totally lost my train of thought now. This dang video. Oh, crazy technology. Let's go into some crazy tech stuff. Speaking of... So if the idea of a loitering drone isn't scary enough, this was something that I saw online today, which someone else says is terrifying. It's a sword-tipped drone, a flying sword drone. You ready for this? Okay. How is that not terrifying? So this is a real product that is in development. You have a lot of these tech companies, tech startups that are actually defense startups now. And this isn't the... I've seen Anduril is a drone company that makes these like crazy drone technologies and stuff like that. I don't think that... Is that Palmer Luckey's company? It might be. This is another one of them. This guy that I just... Samuel Cardillo. Really cool account, actually. I was checking him out earlier. But apparently this guy makes these things. It's playing in slow motion there, but look again how fast this thing hits this target. That's it. I mean, this is where the technology is right now. You don't even have to have a drone that's going to explode on impact. You can just shoot it like a bullet through people. Right? I mean, pretty soon there's going to be no point in even having boots on the ground, because how are they going to... I think that's one of the things we saw in the Ukraine war with Russia, is just how much war has changed kind of exponentially in just the last few years, where now it's essentially, you know, you're not really even fighting for the majority of the time. You're not fighting human to human using guns. You're just looking out for what from the sky is going to explode you. I mean, and the crazy thing is this is only going to get weirder and weirder. These, you know, the technology is getting smaller and smaller. I think we're moving towards this place where companies realize we don't really need F-35s and piloted planes in the future. You can actually just do the same thing with a much smaller device, or hundreds of much smaller devices, right? Flying autonomously. They'll probably be piloted by AI in the future. But imagine the next leap, right? Imagine the next leap when you can be targeted by nanotechnology, right? Imagine that somebody doesn't like a foreign leader, and so they release 1 million tiny drones, like millimeters large, smaller than a bee, right? And just send them over to like poison someone or to kill somebody. That is the future, and is not too far away. It's like within the next 10 years. I'd bet about 10 years to get to that. But maybe faster depending on this exponential curve of technology. So we'll see. It's going to be a wild ride these last few years. Hopefully not last few years. We'll see. Okay. That was one tech thing. I don't know if there's anything else cool in this video. I also really want to have a drone, a killer drone. I feel like you're going to have at least one in the future. Apple will probably sell them. You ain't nobody unless you got a personal killer drone. Other technology, meh. I mean, this was, Trump is releasing his policy on AI. The White House releases a common sense national AI policy framework that ensures every American benefits from AI. I don't know. I don't remember what was super... let's just pull Grok up again. I think I closed out the window. I was asking him what's really important about this. It looks like the main things that I can recall. What are the bullet points of the proposal? The main things were kind of keeping the government out of over-regulating AI, making sure that companies could still grow the technology so that we can win the AI race, which also sounds terrifying. This may be the one case where I would prefer to have some government, a little bit of over-regulation maybe, but probably not, you know? It's really the main thing. It was pretty milquetoast. There wasn't anything super, oh my god. What's even happening now? Apparently there's 4 agents thinking about it. Protecting children. I didn't even know how that... Privacy settings for AI. Okay. Respecting intellectual. This was an interesting one. I mean, respecting intellectual property rights and supporting creators. They basically were saying we're going to let the courts decide whether AI training on human data is fair use or not. So the government's not going to step in and decide that. They're going to let the local and state courts decide, which I think is probably the right play. I honestly don't see how it's not a violation of intellectual property rights. I mean, they say AI is training on the data. It's stealing it. If you create a piece of art or writing and you put it online and AI trains off of that, it's really creating a derivative work based on your own work. But we're also at a point where there's also no way to stop that, because we're all just on this boat hurtling like the Titanic through this sea of icebergs where we're like, yeah, we're making AI. Because we're just compelled to do so as humans, always invent newer and newer technology. And because if we don't, China will do it first and they'll probably kill us. So that is the future, whether you like it or not. People do like AI. You know, it's very engaging if it's good. And it is going to operate in that way, where it's going to pull from the public works or, you know, artists' works, and it's going to make derivative works based off of it. So I guess the future must look something like some type of shares that are compensating generally artists for AI using their work. It's basically the future is just turning everybody into an Uber driver. Just taking what was once millions of dollars for a song, and now you get your Uber payout for what AI did with it. That'll probably be what happens. Well, there was the poly market, and I think that was it for the AI plan. Nothing super crazy. There was a story earlier this week, Poly Market, which is like it's like a sports betting website, but not for sports. It's a predictions market where they'll do all kinds of prop bets on, like, usually politics stuff. Like, do you want to bet that AOC will or won't be president in a couple of years, and stuff like that, right? Or current events. So Poly Market announced earlier in the week they were launching a bar that was for guys who like to monitor the situation. It's in DC, which actually I would love. It probably looks like my apartment does right now. I'll always be monitoring the situation up in here. And I don't drink anymore, so I'd probably like chilling at this type of a bar, exactly. But I guess it opened today, and this person's saying it was a flop. So I guess they didn't have anything ready. She says the Poly Market monitoring the situation meme is a bust. They didn't have any TVs working. Everyone was waiting 1.5 hours, an hour and a half in the rain because of technical issues. Then the Wi-Fi went out. None of the TVs that they're supposed to be monitoring the situations on were even working. That's actually how my podcast starts off every night. It's just some huge technical error. So I don't even really want to play the audio. It is so sad, but we'll play it. Ne'er have there been more incels together in a room at the same time. That actually looks, despite all the hype, that looks exactly like you would expect the bar that monitors the situation to look. It's exactly the type of clientele. I could easily fit in there. You could Photoshop me in, you wouldn't even notice me amongst everyone else. The only bar where you're guaranteed to not get laid. Others, it's still low probability, but this one, you have a 100% guarantee of not getting laid. I could do without the jazz. I don't know how that's helping to monitor the situation. Not liking that. That's the monitoring the situation bar. Dire Fest, they're calling it. Geyer Fest? What's a funnier thing? Anybody, any ideas? Okay. What else we got? This was James O'Keefe getting attacked today. So James O'Keefe, remember he's the Project Veritas guy who they somehow like stole his company from him, and he's been doing some independent reporting on his own. So he was in most recently at Los Angeles with a guy Cam Higbee, who's also an online reporter, and they were going undercover to catch people basically illegally signing up homeless people to register to vote or to sign petitions that they needed signatures on. And they were, in exchange, giving them cigarettes, sometimes money, small amounts of money, things of that nature, right? So I guess they confronted some of the guys who regularly do it on LA's Skid Row, and those guys did not take kindly to it. Here you go, watch here.
I got you. I'm not from out here.
This is the beginning of the altercation. So I guess what's happening is they go up to this booth, and there's this guy who sort of runs the booth here, and they are questioning both of them.
That's the guy right here. This is the guy who broke the law in the video. Sir.
Can I look at the petition?
He's the guy who broke the law in the video.
Can I look at the petition?
I'm not breaking any law.
Can I look at the petition?
For signatures, cigarettes for signatures, it's against the law in California.
We ain't breaking the law, bro.
It's against the law in California to give cigarettes and cash for
I ain't
signatures.
giving cash. I ain't giving nothing away. I give free cell phone. I give free cell phone.
We have you guys on camera shouting money for petitions.
I don't do money. I don't do money.
We have you shouting money and cigarettes.
I don't do money for petitions.
Yeah.
Can we look at the petition? What's that? You're gonna send me down.
When do all of these street videos where there's like somebody doing something illegal and the reporters are calling them out, it always ends in threats to get off my block. And you can see here the locals come in and kind of defend the guy and are like, well, you shouldn't be doing this. And they're like, we're reporters. And this kid who's in the mix somehow jumps in, slaps the phone out of someone's hand. Watch.
We're just asking questions. I got my spray ready to go. Oh, I'm fine. That guy almost found out, though.
Don't interfere with their fraud. This place ain't for you.
We don't have to ask, you're in a public space. We're just asking questions. Here's the petitions. We're gonna have to run. We're gonna have to run. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, we can get him. He's going slow. He's going slow.
That's, I think, after they ran. Oh, that already happened. Where did the attack happen? They cut this video up all weird. They're like doing the end at the beginning and then jumping back and forth. All right, here's where it happened.
You were offering cigarettes.
Hey.
I'm not from out here. I'm not from out here.
Come on, guys.
Hold up. That was the perp rod right there. So a little. Shot a little. Did you guys just see a ball chair roll out of into the screen for a sec? Ignore that.
Offering cigarettes.
Hey.
I'm not from out here.
It's in the back. After he gets pepper sprayed. Punch. Perp rod.
Come on, guys.
So yeah, they pepper sprayed him. Then James O'Keefe takes off. I can't believe these guys do stuff like that, honestly. That's a tough racket. At least they're doing something important. A lot of these influencers online, I mean, they put themselves in bad situations just to get views. A lot of them ain't even doing nothing important. They're just harassing leftists at protest, or at least James O'Keefe, to his credit, he's exposing, you know, what we were told doesn't ever happen, which is illegal voting fraud. Apparently there are whole systems in place in downtown Los Angeles to do illegal stuff. So, but crazy. I mean, right in the face of everyone. What else we got? I'll end on this. A little Chuck Norris action. Chuck Norris today describing that he was once a leftist, once a liberal, and they moved too far to the left.
Well, I used to be a Democrat, but unfortunately the Democrats went too far to the left, and the Republicans moved into their position that the Democrats were 40 years ago. See, and so what the Democrats believed 40 years ago, the Republicans believe today.
Yeah, Chuck Norris is oddly all of us now. We are all Chuck Norris. I relate to it. I was a liberal too, up until like 2015, probably right around when Trump got elected, actually. I actually didn't vote for Trump the first time, I don't think, because I went to school, I was like, did acting and stuff in college in California, lived in San Diego. I'm about the most liberal, in the most liberal circles you could have ever grown up in, okay? And I liked the Democrat Party when I was, in college and stuff like that. But the thing about them was they were, like, our whole thing was like freedom of speech was paramount. Like, it was really important to be able to protest and to have a free flow of ideas. And just somehow, at some point, as Chuck Norris points out, they just shifted. I don't actually see it as like a shift further left. I see it as just going straight up crazy. And that's what I noted in 2015. The biggest red flag for me was I wrote an article about it at the time online, basically saying that, because at the time I think they started blocking speakers, controversial speakers who talked about race and genetics and stuff. They blocked them from physically coming onto college campuses right around 2015 to 2017. And I thought that was the most dangerous thing I'd ever seen, because you had the left at the time claiming that the right was a bunch of authoritarians and Trump was going to be a dictator. But I looked at my own side and went, no, actually, physically blocking freedom of speech is much more authoritarian than anything that Trump's doing. And that's when I knew something was off. And so right around 2015, 2016 is when I flipped and was like, okay, I'm not dealing with this anymore. So I was one of the first to mark it. But he points out, which I think is the experience for a lot more people, they probably hung around a bit longer, but then just saw the Democrats shift further and further to the left. And now the conservatives on social issues, I think there are still a lot of conservatives who are really right. But a lot of conservatives just kind of a lot of the people who were liberals stepped into kind of the moderate or conservative fold to fill that gap that was left by the Democrats moving left. So Chuck Norris is apparently one of them. I don't have the clip here, but Trump was saying he's a good guy today, of course. Saying he likes Chuck. All right, so that's it for tonight. That's the show. We'll be back. Might do some more shows tomorrow and Sunday. We'll see. But if not, I will be back at least on... I was just checking to make sure my mic worked. That would be a bummer if there was no sound. I've done that before for a show one time. Anyways, I'll be back at least Monday through Friday next week. But I'm toying with the idea of just doing the damn thing every night. It might be kind of fun. Anyways, have a good rest of your night. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you later. If you just joined...